In this video, we're going to look at problems that involve percent. Generally, we're going to be translating problems that are given to us as sort of word problems into mathematical equations and then solving those equations. We'll just go through a few examples. The first problem we'll look at is, what is 15% of 74? There's some very important words in here that we need to use when we translate these from a sentence into a mathematical equation. The first of those words is what? That's the thing we don't know. We're going to go ahead and use a variable for that, and I'm going to use x. The next very important word is, and that's equals. So we're going to translate that into equals. 15%, well, that's just 15%, but in an equation we are going to want to write that as a decimal instead of a percent, so that's going to turn into 0.15. The next important word for us that we see here is the word of, and of tells us that we're going to multiply, and then finally we just have the number 74. So we've translated that problem that we were given, what is 15% of 74, into a mathematical equation, x equals 0.15 times 74, which is a pretty easy thing for us to solve. Now we'll go ahead and finish that up, and we'll have x equals, multiply those two together, and we get 11.1, and that is our solution. Let's look at another one. 24 is 70% of what? Here again, we're going to use those key words to help us set up an equation. 24 is just a number, so that's 24 is, that's my equals. 70% is just 70%, but I am going to want to write that as a decimal, so that's 0.70. You can use 0.7 if you want to. Of is multiply, and what? That's the thing we don't know. So I've taken that expression that was given to me in English and I've made a mathematical equation out of it, which is great. Now what I have to do is solve. Got to remember a little bit of algebra here. I'm trying to get this x by itself, and in order to do so, I've got multiplication, so I need to divide both sides by 0.7. What that's going to do is cause these to cancel, and then on the left hand side of equals, I also have to divide by 0.7. When I do that, I get 34.2857 is equal to x, and we'll round that to the nearest hundredth. So let's see, to round to the nearest hundredth, I need to round to that place value. I look one space to the right of there and see that I have a 5, so I'm going to round up. And my solution here is going to be 34.29. Let's look at one more. Okay, 52 is what percent of 235? Round your final answer to the nearest tenth. We did the hundredth last time. Let's do the tenth this time. So here we first need to translate this into a mathematical equation. We start out with 52. That's just a number, so that's just 52. Is equals what percent? That's the thing I don't know. What? And since it's a percent, I'm going to go ahead and label it with that just to remind me that my answer here is going to be a percent. That'll be really important for us as we get near the end of this problem. Of tells us to multiply, and 235 is just a number. So like before, I've got to remember a little bit of algebra. Got to get that x by itself. Well, this is multiply by 235, so to make that go away, I'm going to divide by 235, and if I divide the right by 235, I've got to divide the left by 235. These 235s cancel, and on the left-hand side, I get 0.221276. Your calculator might have more decimals on it than that. We're rounding to the nearest tenth, so that's going to be plenty for us. And that's equal to x percent. Now remember, my answer says, or excuse me, my question says, what percent? So I need my answer to be in the form of percent, not in the form of a decimal. Right now my answer is in the form of a decimal. I need my answer to be in the form of a percent. So the first thing I need to do is convert this to a percent. 0.221276, when written as a percent, would be 22.1276% is equal to x. And then finally, the instructions told me round to the nearest tenth. That means I'm going to round right here. I look one space to the right to decide if I'm going to round up or down. Since I have less than a 5 in that spot, I'm going to round down. And my final answer here is going to be 22.1%.